Jers, we are back. It's officially Masters Week. It's here. We've been talking about it. We've been thinking about it for weeks now, probably since we got back from Royalty, from Troon. And here it is. I'm not in a bike shop. I'm staying at an Airbnb where the host is an avid cyclist. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're wondering, is Adam going mountain biking after this? I'm not. But I had to tell people that. But Jers, it's here. How are you feeling? Are you excited?
Are the bikes like up for grabs? Can you take them for a spin, or like they're strictly mounted? Like they're part of the Airbnb?
Yeah, it was like one of those where like take the bikes if you want to, but I'm good. I don't think we'll be taking the bikes.
You never know. You never know. You go, glad you have them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have. I've been moving around a lot. There's surfboards over here. So this person is a big outdoorsman. Haven't seen the golf clubs though, so I don't know if he gets.
Shout out Kevin Velo.
Shout out Kevin Velo bikes. But all that's fun and games. But Jers, it's the Masters week. That's what I was asking. How are you feeling? It's here. Is it your favorite week of the year? Are there other weeks you prefer more? What's the vibes?
I just think real quick. I like Troon week, or sorry, the Open week better than Masters week. But yeah, I'm not going to say Masters week is a bad week. It's a great week. It's been a long 48 hours for me, for the team. But boot by boot, a lot of dog over here, and we trek along, and we got a ton of content to deliver for you guys, including this show. So ready to jump into it.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in just a second, because truly at least from how high your excitement must have been to the disappointment of the weather, tough day on the Masters front. And we'll get there in a second. But as you said, persevering, overcoming, keep grinding, boot by boot, strokes gain dog mentality. Before, just wanted to quickly touch on the Valero Texas Open and the LIV Miami, because ultimately some of those players obviously are going to, especially on the LIV side, we'll be talking about them being into Augusta. But I think we still got to do at least a few minutes on what we saw last week. Obviously, for the regular listeners, that's what we usually do on Sunday nights. This week just pushed a little bit differently due to the crazy Masters schedule. But Jers, Brian Harman, the winner of the Valero Texas Open, a guy that you've seen generationally striping all year in practice. Thoughts? Were you surprised he wasn't in great form? Brian Harman won the Valero.
Not surprised that Brian Harman ended up peaking and spiking this week, and also not upset that we didn't bet him. You and I bet him 2 out of the 4 Florida weeks, so we were on him recently. We saw great things from him leading into this part of the season. There just wasn't too many signs on the wall outside of what we saw in Booch for us to pull the trigger, but it was obviously a great bet. It obviously, I know some of our subscribers pulled the trigger on Brian Harman, so shout out you guys who bet the Brian Harman number. I know some of you guys cashed big. But yeah, it was just another Brian Harman performance when he gets that 36-hole lead. I think he's 2 for 2 in his last 2 tries doing it. And he really has the part of like, damn, I'm in control. No one wants me to be here. And I'm just going to take care of business and make these putts when no one wants me to make them.
Yeah, and I think we had just talked about him. I think it was maybe Cognizant Pod Boots, because you saw him striping about where he falls in the dog rankings and like what his dog ranking means. And I think he was in like the 20s. We had dropped him down to the 40s just as, I mean, he's still in the dog rankings. I think he was like 15th in the Valero field last week, but it's just, he hadn't really mixed in so long. We talked about all of those finishes between 10th and 30th place. I think that was literally what we went and looked at. And it was a string of those in a row. But it made sense in that he had putted really, really well at this court at TPC San Antonio before, like great putting, spike performances every time. And that's why on the podcast last week, and then I wrote him up, and you mentioned a subscriber sent me their ticket. It's because I wrote him up in my early leans. It's the second time this year where like an early lean, Sep being the other one, you were on Sep, where I should have just stuck with my gut, because I was like, you've been saying he's generationally striping. He's putted great here. And the number was really fair. And I didn't realize, because it was 75 when I wrote it up in the ticket that he sent me, it had drifted to 135 in certain spots. And I think he drifted like 21% on where we track the odds each week. So I just wasn't paying attention. Didn't realize by the end of the week. So I was a little disappointed just for those reasons, that I at least could piece together why a triple digit player could win. And you know, it's not always that you can put that together.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's weeks where like we have no way that we'd get on these guys, but there was definitely a world where you and I both could have gotten to Harmon, but golf betting is not that easy. You're not going to hit every few weeks. Hopefully hit once every 7 weeks or so. But yeah, shout out Harmon. Great week of perseverance, because he didn't have his best stuff over the weekend, but he just got up and down when he needed to, and they were just so many of those 5-foot putts and inside. Like the short game display was a generational one. Truly.
Going into the final round, I know you were on friend of the podcast, BSB Novak. There's unrelated. Are some people questioning the dog of BSB Novak. You know, we declare friends of the pod. We have to give them honest assessment to do. I did see a couple people in the Discord, so I do need your thoughts on that. But you had him, and did you think going into the final round he had any chance, or did you think Harmon was just going to take care of it?
I thought that he had a chance just because of, well, first of all, Novak had no business even mixing in the first place. He was all over the place the first 2 days and was just scrambling crazy, making like literally 15 to 20 foot par saves to get there on the weekend. And I mean, I thought he had a well-rounded game, which he does. And I thought that would make sense over the weekend when the conditions got tougher. And I was like, all right, we needed to blow. That's also kind of suits Harmon too. So it was like, which one do I want? But I mean, Novak, I don't think you could say he has no dog, because he's never won. He doesn't mix a lot. And he fought pretty hard for like not striping hard all week. I'm not mad at his performance. I obviously wish he could have made a few more of those putts down the stretch, but I mean, he was really the only one who had a chance with 5 holes to go.
Yeah, and I think like we've talked about this before about him. I think it was after Torrey Pines, where like he has tons of dog in that he battles and makes pars and hangs in there. Like these are perfect BSB conditions, because through the first 63 holes, he's able to just like keep that steadiness. We were texting about this. I think it's less strokes gained dog, a little more strokes gained caddy, because some of those club selections, like obviously he got hugely lucky on that ball that bounced off the grandstand and he made birdie on. Like that could have been a 2-shot swing right there.
Yeah.
Then on 17 in the final round, he nuked it over the green. And then on 18 in the final round, he was out of it, but still just throwing money in the garbage, basically. And it sucked to see our boy BSB missing the chance for all those fantasy football entries. Like he cost himself decades worth of fantasy football entries with how he played the 18th hole. I was disappointed with some strokes gained caddy from our guy.
110%, because there was multiple times. I think it was on 10 or 11 or not, maybe 9, when Harmon made that double and Novak was in the middle of the fairway, hits the green. He could have the lead, like a 3-shot swing possibly. And it happened a few times where I don't know if the number was wrong or Novak flushed so hard that the ball just went through the wind, because he hit that low penetrating draw all day. And it was like fun to watch, because he would spin the club, looked like it was on the money, and then it would just like not touch the wind and fly the green. Like that's just, I don't know whose fault it is. Is it the number, or is it just, did he hit it too good? I don't know, but it can't happen in that situation. And there was a few head scratchers in terms of what's going on here with the club selection with the number.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the most egregious ones was on 17 in the final round, because he had just made up a shot when Harmon made bogey on 16. 2 shots back with 2 to go with a drivable par 4 is, you're right there, like hit a good shot and you're mixing.
And they couldn't have hit a better shot. Wrong club.
Yeah, he twirled it. He thought he had striped it. But before he even hit it, I think John Wood was like, this makes no sense. And I've been watching a lot of the day, because I had a variety of guys who were kind of mixing, and no one was hitting driver on that hole.
No,
everybody, some guys were hitting like less than 3 wood. You could just fly it on the front because it was downwind and it would just bounce, and you'd hope it bounced back there. Like Gerard landed it on the front. He fucking 3-putted. That was so frustrating. Gerard,
saw that.
I got to give shout out to Gerard, because he was like a guy where I talked about him on the pod last week, where all the numbers lined up, like all the trends. There was like one trend and it pointed to him, and it pointed to like Akshay last year. He just grinded his way to a solo second finish. He was never truly mixing, but that final round, he was insane. And it's that almost never works out. The time where all the numbers say some 80-1 guy is actually going to play good. It's a great recipe to just get disappointed week after week. But Gerard stepped up and delivered. And I have to give a shout out anytime somebody does that.
Yeah, he was playing so good. Had one of the round. Did he have the lowest round of Sunday? He probably had close to it.
I think so. I think he was bogey free until 18. He missed. He 3-putted 17, and then he would have got to 8 under, which would have been like right there, because Harmon would have had to go to 18, needing to make par, which was tough. And he 3-putted.
Yeah, tough scene there, but I mean, good sweat. We had everyone in the mix not named Brian Harman on Sunday. It was like one of the. I know a few people hadn't made DFS lineups just based off our cards, and they were like right there to the end. Sucks that we weren't on Harman, but we had, I think, 2 through 6 on Sunday, which is just
yeah,
like,
it was.
of course.
Everything turned bad simultaneously, at least for me, because I also LIV Miami, and we're not, this is golf betting. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
We've had good times, we've had bad times, but sometimes you have to feel sorry for yourself. Take a moment. It's a frustrating game and say, damn, that really didn't go my way. Oh, well, you move along. And it's nice the Masters there. But LIV Miami, I thought I was rooting not for Bryson because I had Dean and like other guys who could have gotten the mix. But I thought Bryson was pretty much a lock to win the tournament going to the final round. And he ejected so hard. That was shocking what Bryson did.
Yeah, I was if you're listening to this, Mom, I'm sorry. Had my laptop on the right side of the car and my phone like on the dash, and I was kind of watching both while I was driving to Augusta. So sorry, Mom. But it was just like at the corner of my eye. So I was watching both. And then it was quickly I had to shut off LIV because Bryson was gone before, like bogeyed the easiest hole. Like Dural's a hard course, but one was a joke. It was just like such an easy downwind par 5. And he bogeyed that. So I don't know what we're doing. So I turned it off fairly quickly and started just focused on Valero. But did you watch more than I did? Because I stopped after Bryson ejected. Like, what was he doing?
Well, so Bryson ejected, and then Dean started making birdies. Dean had like the best round on the course going, and he was playing the hard. He started
outside of Anthony Kim.
Outside of Anthony Kim, because Dean made a 9, which is what happened. Because Dean started on the second hole, and like you said, 1 was a super easy par 5, which was why Bryson making bogey was so shocking. Because I thought he would birdie that hole 99 times out of 100, and he made bogey.
I was in Buc-ee's, by the way. I was in Buc-ee's for a little stop. And I was like, all right, Bryson's on the par 5. I'm going to go get my beef jerky, come out and see where he is. I see him make 6. I was like, what happened? So keep going.
But then, Dean was making all these birdies, but he had started on 2. So that meant that he started on some tougher holes, but he was going to get to finish on 18, almost like not a guaranteed birdie, but a really, really, really good chance. And maybe even an eagle if he needed to make eagle. He was making all these birdies. He got up to lead. I think he took a 1-shot lead momentarily over Leishman around like the 12th hole. And then he didn't get up and down from the bunk on a par 5. And then he hooked an iron on a par 3, super tough. So then Leishman takes the lead, but only by 1. And then everybody started to fall back. So what Bryson was doing was he just quit trying. Like he was, after like 4 holes, he just started complaining so hard to his caddy. He couldn't make any putts because he was making, he hasn't been putting good. The reason I was out on Bryson last week was because he hadn't been putting good, but then he was on fire and then he started missing and he gave up. So that's what happened to Bryson.
I have a take. His stroke didn't look great. It was a little out to in. So that's my my golf swing analysis.
Well, the nice thing is you have the LIV line to know if it was a good putt or not.
The LIV line, the most accurate thing in the world, not just in sports. So yeah, clearly Bryson wasn't making those putts on the LIV line on Sunday. So I think his stroke could be in for some trouble this week too.
There's people who have not listened to the pod often who are only listening to the Masters pod who are like, what are these guys talking about? But we stick to the ball nowhere facts, and the longtime listeners, that's what we're always here for, even on Masters week. And we always appreciate, I know there's more new people who listen to the content on a week like this, and we really appreciate that. I know there's so much great content out there. You could drown in content this week with how much good stuff there is. So if you're taking the time to listen to us talk about golf and give the crazy takes that we do like a million times, shout out to that. But anyways, back to Leash. So Leash takes and then Rahm. Did you see what Rahm did?
He went in the water, I think. Is that what happened?
That this is why we have to talk about LIV, because it was the most interesting from like judging guys for Augusta by far. Like it was tough conditions. It was serious golf. 2 golf
tournaments at single digits. That's sick.
But Doral was like a different level of sick because you could make a 9 like Dean did. Like any hole, you could double any time. Every single swing, double bogey is available.
I watched 80% of Doral because I was locked in on Friday and Saturday. Then obviously I was driving on Sunday. So once Bryson ejected, I stopped watching. But yeah, it was a crazy test.
But yeah, Rahm, he chipped it into the water from right next to the water. And then
I saw the clip.
And then he chipped it, or actually before, I can't remember what the sequence was. He also chipped it into the bunker from right next to the green. And as you know, last Sunday, I said I'm considering an all LIV card. That's what I talked about. And I said I was going to evaluate what I was seeing at LIV Doral. There were some good things from certain players, but there were some bad things. Like I said, Bryson and Rahm in two areas, which we always talk about as unserious on LIV, which is around the greens. And we're LIV guys. We just had Kessler Corain on the pod. Go listen to that if you want to hear the Augusta Keys. But chipping in the course is not being difficult enough. And even Bryson and Brooks in their press conferences coming into the week were saying, like, I wish we played harder golf courses. Seeing that down the stretch gave me the heebie-jeebies. So I'm going to have to talk through it as we get to the Masters, but I just wanted to say not committed to the all LIV card based on just Rahm and Bryson specifically, because they would have been some of the top contenders for me.
Yeah, that is definitely a fair take. There's a few unserious LIV subjects down the board, but I shout out to Leash or shout out to anyone who finished under par at Doral, because that was a test. Like if you finish under par at Doral, check, that is a victory lap for your golf game, because there was guys at like 20 over for 3 rounds. Guys were shooting 80s like it was nothing. I think like Leishman beat a few guys by like 30 strokes, so it was unreal.
The team leaderboard was hilarious. They would go to the team leaderboard and they'd be like, Ripper GC playing great today, 14 over and dominating the competition. Like it was, if LIV did that more often, played sick golf courses like that, I think more people would watch. I don't know what the viewership was. It could be 1,000 people again, but it was definitely more enjoyable to watch them play an actual golf course.
Yeah, I saw someone tweet like a press conference with Bryson. They were like, we asked Bryson if he thinks this is the hardest course on LIV, and Bryson said, yeah, like, no shit. Obviously, this is the hardest course they're going to play. I was like, why are you even asking him? If he didn't say that he'd have real problems. So I wish they did play courses like this more
often. But yeah, so Dean got up there. He was one back, but all he needed to do was par on 18, which is a tough hole. Like par's not guaranteed. But if he could have got par on 18, he would have got to go to 1. And then Leash would have still had to play 18. And Leash ended up making a clutch par, but this would have put even more pressure on him. He made a 9, Jers. He made a 9. How often does your guy eject with 2 holes to go? Making a 9. I was like, what are you doing, man? But I was happy because I've always
said it. Were you watching it like it live?
I saw it live, Jers. As soon as he hit the first one, I stopped watching because he was toast at that point.
It was hooked?
Yeah, hooked, like basically OB. And so I knew it was over. So I kind of stopped watching and I was watching more of the Valero. And then I saw he made a 9 and I was like, that's so unserious. Like it wasn't that he made the 9 that cost him. It was even bogey probably would have cost him, but it was such a hard ejection, which has kind of made me happy because I've said before, if my guy's going to super hard eject and I'm not going to make any money for it, I hope that they lose as much money as possible in that moment. So crazy thing that it happened, but I'm not
millions. Dean lost so much money on that hole, but he won last year. So like, and because someone fucked up on 18, so I guess it happens. Comes full circle.
Dean was in the field this week, he would be on the card instantly.
So quick.
He's does a lot of unserious stuff. Like watching him play is just funny because it's so unserious. But some of the shots he hits are truly. He was hitting it so far. It's
so far. He's one of the favorite guys to see at Booth, and he's one of the nicest guys to see.
So nice.
So nice.
But the weird thing is he was getting pissed at himself and like freaking out, but also the nicest guy to the crowd. So shout out Burmy, great fight. Shout out LIV, a great tournament to watch. And like I said, I wish the PGA Tour players were playing a difficult golf course the week before the Masters.
Well, they did.
I'm saying like the top players, like the Scotties, the Rory. I know they did 2 weeks ago in Houston. It didn't end up playing that difficult, but I'm just saying it would be sick if, let's say, it was all the players playing Doral.
That would be insane. And is it real that like Jay wants to go back to Doral, or is that like a fake quote? But I saw that somewhere.
I saw that, but I could definitely see, like, who knows? I have no insight into whatsoever, but like I could see, because Trump is involved. Like Trump has to say yes to whatever the deal is, as far as I'm aware.
Tiger's
and if he's like, I want a PGA Tour tournament at Doral, they'll probably be like, yeah, why not? Like the players like Doral. The players really like it. They were hyping it up the whole week.
Florida swing would be so electric. That would be insane. Like imagine Bay Hill Doral players like 3 weeks.
They just win every other week. Bay Hill off week, players off week, Doral, Masters.
Give the players like 14 days to like recover. I'm down.
That could be sick. And I'm hoping this is like, I'm just hoping that they kind of combine some of the events. Like we've said LIV Adelaide. Give me at least LIV Adelaide and LIV Miami. I don't think we need any of the other events that have happened so far this year when they combine the tours. Would you add any other of the LIV events? And would you add those two, or would you not add those two?
I would add LIV Hong Kong, because a true test of positional golf. You need one.
That'd be sick. Russ Henley playing Hong Kong.
It's like 3-1.
He would win Hong Kong
so easily.
Comically easily. Scottie would fuck hard in Hong Kong too. He'd be hitting insane shots. I'm so excited to talk about the Masters tours. We have to give the people who want the recap. There is the recap. If the skip ahead people skip ahead, the timestamps will be on there. That's totally fine. We understand that as well. It's ultimately Masters week. That's what everybody's here for, Jers. Tough day for you. I'd been saying for a while, I was kind of out on Masters boots. Not that I didn't want to go to the Masters. Like, who in the world would not want to go to the Masters? But just it was going to be tough, and I didn't know if it was going to make sense. But you came up with a plan, and I was like, let's see how it works out and give it a shot. Backfired a little bit, but you just give the people what happened, what they saw, what you saw, how your day was, how you felt. Because at the end of the day, the personal story of how excited I was at the end of the day for you to get to go to the Masters, see the Masters. Did you still get to experience that? Like, just give us what took place today.
Yeah, so as you loyal listeners know, as you loyal Boots fans know, we love to deliver Boots as much as possible, as often as possible, as best as possible. But this week, we can only give you so much, and it's not a lot because the weather was bleak, and we tried to send it anyway. Got in there, got the notification at 8 o'clock that they were opening the gates. I was ecstatic. I thought we were going to get nothing. So I got in, and there was one golfer on the course, and it was Thomas Dietrich. Shout out Dietz. That's Strokes Game Prep. And then
see, that's still useful. That's still useful. I just bumped Tommy Dietz up ever so slightly in my thinking for that early prep.
Yeah, so then after that, some time went by. I started walking the course, started to just take it all in, soak it all in. Look for guys. There's no one out there because the weather.
I have a lot of questions because I haven't heard any of the story. Like,
I don't want to tell you.
I'm hearing this in real time, and I think a lot of the listeners will appreciate the story as much as anything else. What was your feeling when you walked in the doors? What happened? The gates open. You're there. You're going into Augusta National for the first time. You've been to all these courses. You've done a lot of Boots. At least you still got to go in the doors, which is amazing by itself. Yeah. What was that moment? What was the first things you saw? Like, paint the scene for me as much as anybody else.
Okay, and I talked about this a little bit in the Boots report, which will be on the site on Wednesday. But the amount of pressure you feel walking around is like something I've never felt before. Just being a patron around in Augusta, just the pressure of not doing anything wrong. And my take was, I can't imagine closing a golf tournament with that pressure. It was just like, and you probably didn't think I was going to say that. You probably thought I was going to say like it's a magical place, which it is, but just how like perfect and in order, and like as myself, just being a guy felt in there was just something I did not imagine and did not know how to like. I'm sure over time I would get over it, but it was just a crazy feeling that I did not expect.
Where do you enter? Like, which hole did you see first?
So I entered in the south gate, and then you walk into like the merch shops and the concessions and the bathrooms, and then right down it's 15, 16, 17. If you walk down a little bit further, you'll get to Amen Corner. So I hit the back nine first and saw some of those holes, and no guys, there's no players out. But you walk through like you're in a Disney safari line. You're like, and it's so cool.
Like the TBC Sawgrass walk-in, but more intense.
Yeah, the azaleas were fully in bloom. You're in like a little foresty trek down the path, and then it all opens up, and it's like a village of golf mecca. No phones, peace, serenity, quiet. Everyone's super, super nice. No one's moving quickly, and it's just green and lush and pureness. That's all it is. And if you're a golf fan, you got to do it.
And yeah, I think what you mentioned, I mean, you like the interest. Well, I was just purely interested on the vibes basis of like over the last year, obviously, you've been to every major and every big golf event that has occurred outside the President's Cup, but I don't even think that counts at all. Shout out the Ryder Cup, though. That'd be sick to go to. Not from a boots perspective, but I think I'm good on the Pres Cup, unless Cam Davis is on home soil in Australia.
In Seattle.
They could play at Holly. They could play if the Pres Cup's at Holly, we're back in on the Pres Cup. And when we say that again, people are listening are like, why are these guys shitting on the Pres Cup? We have the Viking Cup. We can't be Pres Cup guys when we also have the Viking Cup to defend. But you've been to all these tournaments. You know the vibes. And you literally said you felt a different energy from walking in the door. I think that's cool. I mean, like, I'm glad you got to experience that, nonetheless, regardless of the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I have a take that involves that when we get to like talking about the key stats, specifically the driving, which we'll get to. But yeah, the pressure of just being in the building, I think, is why first timers don't fare well there. And like they could pop for a round, but just the ability of getting through 72 holes with the lead is so impossible because you can be at the peak of your game and just turn into a shell of yourself because you're in Augusta National. You're at the Masters. It just a crazy feeling because it's just not real life.
How many holes did you see? And which holes did you see?
Basically, I think 7 of 8 on the back 9 and then 1. I really did not see that much because the weather horn blew fairly quick when I was in there. And yeah, I can count the guys I saw on 2 hands.
Yeah, and that's at least, like I said, the fact that you got to experience it, again, purely on the personal level, because you put so much time and energy into it, that the worst case scenario was the entire day being canceled. You don't get to go to Augusta whatsoever. You got to see Amen Corner. Is it true? Are the mounds bigger and more like rounded in person? Did you get to see that? The hills, like everything that people say, did you see that with your eyes, lay eyes on all of that?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, people can say TV doesn't do a good job of
they do say
like
that
seeing the slopes, but TV does a decent job. You can really see all the slopes on TV because it's the Masters and the cameras are really showing them. But I will say, like, they're there. Like they're slopey. There's not. They say that you can't have a flat. There's no flat lies around Augusta. That's true. There's 0 flat lies no matter where you are in the fairway on the greens. And it's just a very unique place. We shit on golf courses and say like it's not as good as it seems or something like that. But there's no bad words that I could possibly say about this place. And yeah, very slopey, very green, very perfect.
I do think that's a hot take. Every person I've ever heard describe Augusta says like the TV doesn't do it justice. You're declaring that the TV does justice to the mounds of Augusta National, because that's great news as somebody will be watching. I never thought it did it justice.
Well, do you think it looks really slopey on TV?
Yeah, especially when you watch like the other feeds, like the Amen Corner feed. That's the sick thing about Augusta is they have those other feeds, and they usually have the DP announcers on some of the feeds, and it's generational. It's tremendous.
Maybe that's why I'm saying it then, because I watch all those feeds regularly, and like, I mean, you could see the curvature. But like, yeah, obviously being in person, it really amplifies it. But the amount of slope on every single shot, on every single corner and crevice of the golf course is very unique. Very unique.
So outside of this majestic feeling that you felt, and it sounds like it impacted how you're even thinking about the like why, first timers and why experience here matters, which that obviously the stats there speak for themselves. So whether that's true or not, like the numbers kind of back it up. Did you, in the time you were there, experiencing anything else that will impact how you think about the players that you're going to bet or play in DFS this week, or no? And what was the honest takeaway on that front?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for me to change the narrative around Augusta, I'm not going to do that. I'm not trying to just be different and make a hot take about a course key stat. I'm going to give my honest assessment like we always do. The only thing I will say that you and I might disagree on, which is not even a hot take either. Augusta's been told to be, been spoken about being a second shot golf course for a long time, and I really think that the iron play is amplified more than I thought going in. Personally, I was kind of with the just bomb it narrative, but I really do think it's going to be one with the iron play just because of the precision of the slopes, and more than anything, if you say hit a ball off the heel, off of a little thin, and you don't control the spin, it's going to bound into an area you're not ready to play from. You have to, because just as slopey as the fairways are, the greens and around the greens area are just as slopey, and they'll lead you into the water, into a spot you don't want to be in. So I think controlling the spin and controlling your ball into the greens is at least more important than I would have figured going into it. So that was the biggest takeaway.
But I think that's like, yes, like obviously it looks that way, but for a lot of the same reasons that you just said, controlling the spin, being able to hit the green, being able to land the ball in the pockets of the green, what's been happening is the big hitters are so much further down there.
They have way less club. Yeah, I agree.
Less club with less loft. And I think, like, as you said, you know, we have differing opinions all the time on this type of stuff. And that's why I think people like, you know, what we do is we always just say what we feel. And sometimes it's aligned on the same guy. Sometimes it's not. I just think when you look at the stats, guys used to multiple guys per Masters would gain 8-9 strokes on approach. You're just not seeing it as much anymore. Like I tweeted out a stat that, let me just pull it up.
I did see that tweet
about how so if you just take the top 6 ball strikers at Augusta on a year-by-year basis. So in that Masters, they ranked in the top 6 on the weekend ball striking. In 2021, I think it was like 23% of those strokes gained came off the tee. So a vast majority were coming on approach. The next year, it was like 36%. Then it went to like 42%. And then I think last year was, this is bad podcasting, but yeah, 26, 33, 40, 55. And like last year, Bryson, Ludwig, and Scottie just destroyed the course off of the tee. Now, I still think you have to hit your irons good. Like, it's not like you just hit it far off the tee and then you can't be good at everything else. You still have to be good at everything else. I just feel like if you can drive it long and straight and you're also good with your irons, it's a massive advantage over the guys who are really 100%. Good with their irons but aren't positionally bombing.
No, and that's both of the things that we said, again, they go hand in hand, because the way that you can control your spin is having a way less club into the green. So I think that does make sense by what you said. And yeah, I'm not going to kick back on that, because they do both make sense and they can go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, like, it's less too about maybe who can finish in the top 10 or who can have a high finish at the Masters and who will win the tournament. And like, when you look at the numbers of who will win the tournament, and the winners last few years have been pulling away, like there's distance between the guys. It's just if you're doing both of those things, and obviously there's probably only one guy who's going to be able to do bomb it long and straight down the middle and stripe with their irons and be great around the greens. And you don't have to make a ton of putts, but make just enough putts. Someone probably will. One guy, but like if you look then who's going to finish lower and maybe DFS, you might take a different path. You know, I think that's the important thing too, is to think about like which stats necessarily, you know, point at which market. Cause I think I definitely care less about the driving for like a T10 finish, for example, because you can do it all with short game in that way.
Do you want me to give my my potential hot take about the driving that I alluded to earlier? So you're going to laugh at this. If you picked up Augusta National and put it in like Wisconsin on like a summer day in July and just changed the name of it, but it was the exact same golf course, it would be the easiest driving course in the world. There is zero visual intimidation at all. Like easier than Valhalla. Like the sight lines and just the landing areas they're so easy. And that makes sense with what you're saying and with why guys who are bombers and guys who generally sometimes spray it play well at Augusta. So seeing that in person really check those things out. And to finish that take is, I think what makes the course like hard is the prestige and history around it. I'm not saying it's not a hard course, but makes like those things harder. Like in order to close the golf tournament, but just purely like off the tee, it's so benign.
Like the drives, they're wide, but they feel narrower when you need to hit the fairway on a par 5, for example, to go in 2, which is a lot of where the key driving comes kind of down the stretch. Another reason why I think driving is important to win the tournament, because if you drive it long and straight on the par 5s and you're chilling, like you can go from there and make a ton of birdies. And ultimately the par 5 scoring, also a massive piece just of the story at Augusta. But I do think the fact that you just a few moments ago said that you weren't going to give any hot takes or change the narrative around Augusta, claiming it's easier off the tee than Valhalla, which it might be. I believe you. That's bold, because anything being worse than Valhalla is pretty disrespectful, let alone the Great Augusta National. Are you going to stand by that?
I hope no one's listening to this and I don't get like people get lifelong bans. I hope I don't get one. That would be
You literally go for like 3 hours and you're banned for life for saying that the driving corridors are more expansive than Valhalla.
Yeah, it's been a tough 48 hours. Just a lot. So that would really be the icing on the cake.
I think the stats support you though, because at the end of the day, Valhalla driving accuracy was 67% and Augusta's last year was 71%. So
okay. I got everything. Yeah,
like it's just ball knowledge. But okay, you also went to Kapalua. How do I compare to Kapalua? But there is Kapalua Augusta overlap. Like, did you see the Kapalua Augusta comp? Because that's a real thing.
Yeah, with the slopes, the slopes and the walk for sure. And but I think the driving, even though Kapalua is wide, I think the driving's easier at Masters, truthfully. What's the driving accuracy percentage at Kapalua? I'm gonna say 68.
67. So those numbers, literally,
I am dialed.
Sometimes takes are right, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're really right. You have the numbers on your side. So anyone before, and this is why I had to see if you were going to stand by it. I'm glad you did, because the numbers back you up, and that's interesting because at the end of the day,
that was right on par with that one time, like one of the first ever pods we did, and like you said, like a college basketball stat, and I don't remember what it was, but we should clip that. And
it was this over under. It was the total in the first Gonzaga game of the year against Yale.
Before any of the odds came out.
Also, shout out the national championship. We were watching that right before this. Tough scene for Kelvin Sampson in Houston. Kelvin Sampson's coached basketball, lifetimes of coaching college basketball. And for the final 10 minutes of the game, he couldn't think of one play. One offensive set that could get a basket for Houston. Horrible offense. They went dry. That's Houston basketball, it was Houston had finally made it to the pinnacle. They've been trying for so long with this hard-nosed, defensive first. We're going to win the Big 12 every game 32-28, defense wins championships. And they had it in their hands, but their ultimate pitfall, not being able to score when they need to, cost them the national championship. So devastation for Kelvin Sampson.
Florida Panthers, Florida Gators, champions. They're a great state.
Yeah, there's a couple of people in the Discord who I think graduated from Florida. So shout out to them. Because it was one of those moments. Yeah, it was one of those moments where whoever won the game was going to obviously live on forever as the greatest moment of their lives. And whoever lost, I don't, if you're a Houston basketball fan, I genuinely pour
Does Jim Nance call the Masters this week? Or does he just call it quits?
If he doesn't, Andrew Catalan should take over.
Fine with that.
Catalan, we love Catalan's season. I just have to, this ties together because he's been calling the college basketball. Catalan, give me more Catalan. What do we have to do?
Cats?
It is great when he'll be on one of the streams this week on Masters, so we've got that going for us. But okay. And what I was going to say about the PGA Championship at Valhalla was that when we just go look at those results, it was Xander, Bryson, Victor. Obviously, Collin was there as well. They finished 5th, 2nd, 7th, and 13th off the tee. So just another example of when the driving gets easy, but those generational drivers who are just sending it down the middle, field days.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Do we have any win reports for the weekend?
Yes.
Question on that. I'm going to ask you, what direction was the wind blowing today?
Okay.
And then I'll ask the follow-up question on that.
Yep. Hold on just a second. I will
like
say,
on
just
average in the morning.
Yeah. Let me see here. Today it was blowing. Wow, this is tough to figure out. Hold on.
I mean, if you can't figure it out, that's fine because we could look at it.
I can figure it out. Today it was blowing southwest at 11 miles an hour.
Do we have a similar wind condition?
Somewhat similar. The first few days, actually sideways, it changes a little bit. I would say it changes more to the south, but it's not going to be strong any day. Okay. It was stronger today, according to the forecast. Obviously, this could change. We'll have
that makes sense. It was horrible weather today.
But it was worse today than it's expected to be the rest of the week. And then just from a rest of the weather standpoint, I think it might rain on Friday. But I'm checking that right now.
The only reason I'm saying that is because if we got stronger winds, I mean, hole 11 would just be a joke. Like hole 11 props, absolutely just hound them because it's a par 5. It's a par
5. How hard did it rain today?
Look at I posted some videos on Twitter. It rained hard, really hard. And they were on top of the things. Like a security guard was like roaming, and like I saw him, he whispered something to one of the volunteers, and I kind of overheard him. He was like, they're gonna blow it in 30. And then I would say they blew it in 30, and then within 45 minutes from what he said that, it came down. So they got everyone out of there right before it became like a real issue, because it's not like easy to navigate out, and you don't know where a lot of times you don't know where you are on the course, because there's no like communication or anything. So it's like, how do I get to the South Gate from here? Just got out in time, and then it started to come down.
Yeah, and this one is a shout out to the weather models. Maybe they're using new AI in the weather, because I looked at it yesterday on a few of the weather sites to see like how it was looking. And it pretty much went exactly how it was said it was going to go. It was going to start around like 10 or 11, and then it was just going to torrentially rain like 2 inches and have thunder and lightning the rest of the day. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. So if we trust the Augusta weather community, which so far, at least today, it seems like we should, they're saying that the rest of the week, there might be some rain on Friday, 70% chance of some light rain. So like, I think but you said it was, and there was lots of reports of this coming into the week. This is the other thing about Augusta. Like, there's so many reports about Augusta. And, I think at the end of the day, I was excited to do boots, but at the same time, if there was ever a tournament where like you can literally watch the guys on the range, not that we're not range boots reporters. We say that all the time. You can't really learn anything from the range whatsoever. So if you are one of those people, honestly, actually, with just watching the range, don't factor that into your bets. I don't think. Would you, if you saw somebody on the Masters stream hitting on the range, would you, as a boots goer, say to look at that or not look at that?
No, and people are going to try to make narratives out of that this week, probably. But from doing this like as a legitimate job for the last 2 years, I know to take little to nothing from the range. I learned the hard way doing that. Thank you, Adam. Before I knew what I was doing, I was kind of a range merchant. I'm like, oh, this guy's striping. This guy's not striping. The range will not teach you much. You got to put in the steps boot by boot, which is what people don't know how to do it.
So yeah, I wouldn't factor that in either. But just so what I was saying was there are lots of reports about how the course is playing. There's so many interviews. Obviously, they interview the whole field and they talk about how the course is playing. And obviously, a lot of these players have played this course a lot, so they're able to give good insight kind of on the year-over-year changes. And at the end of the day, not a whole bunch changes year to year. They try to get the conditions as similar as possible every single year. But reports where it was playing pretty firm. I think Trevor Immelman even talked about that. You mentioned it being firm. This torrential rain comes down. You said they have the sub-airs on. Some rain on Friday. I think, like, if I had to guess, and we'll see too, it's always nice watching the par 3 contest, seeing how the ball's reacting on the greens. I think that does, honestly, I've used that before in years before, and I think it's been useful. And just seeing sometimes they'll post videos from the practice rounds, like how the ball's reacting on the green is important, I think, because those slopes you're talking about ultimately factor in the most. And if they're firm, the balls will go rolling off. Do you think, based on the weather, based on what you saw, the firmness, I'm guessing it plays a tiny bit easier maybe than average, but like not a bunch? That could change, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think -12 will be the winning score. So maybe, a tiny bit easier than it was last year. But I've never heard the sub air cooking like I've never heard sub air cook like ever, and it was cooking. Like it was like you're standing next to an AC unit like in your house, like within a foot or two, and it was like that the whole course. So they definitely want to dry it up very, very fast.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think like at the end of the day, the conditions should be there for it to be the way the Masters wants to set it up. Depends how much this rain impacts the scoring. Could be one of those where the first couple rounds, some guys are able to shoot some good scores, and then it becomes a little bit difficult to get to the house if things firm up as the week goes on, the different pin positions, things like that. Okay. That's how we feel about the course. That's what you saw out there today. As you said, you didn't see enough players to give player takes. So we're just going to talk through the field. I have locked in one bet so far, Jers. Have you locked in any bets so far at the time of this podcast?
Have not.
Okay. But I made a list of guys that I said I was in on and guys that I'm out on. I know you've probably been thinking about it the same way. Let's talk through the top of the board, a good chunk of the guys, because ultimately, in my opinion, there's only so many players that can win the Masters. It could be one of the players from down the board, sure. But like even then, it's going to be somewhat obvious, I would say, that they like in some ways fit it. Like it's not a place where someone super random is going to win. So I think the top of the board needs a lot of attention. And then we'll talk through some guys further down the board, things for DFS and things like that. How's that sound to you?
Let's do it.
Scottie Scheffler is currently Scottie Scheffler at the time of this
4.5.
You can get a plus 450. Yep. Right now on Scottie Scheffler. I put out a tweet to see how people were feeling. I said, without odds, who do you think wins the Masters? Scottie, Rory, and then I did Collin and Rahm together, and then I said field. I believe Rory had considerably more votes than Scottie, and so did the Rahm-Collin combination, so did the field. His odds are actually tightening in like the markets, but the broad consensus among what I would say like our community, the Twitter community, I don't think is feeling like this is just Scottie's going to win this tournament, stupid, like just give it to Scottie, which is maybe how some people felt last year. His odds were a little higher. State of the Union, Scottie Scheffler, Masters, looking for back-to-back green jackets.
Yeah, I think if you're asking me Scottie versus those guys, I'm picking Scottie. I think, does that mean he's going to win? But I'm not saying that. But if you're asking me to bet a Scottie Rory matchup, I'm betting Scottie. I like him better than all of those guys. I just think obviously, like the conquering Augusta thing is huge because they all have their own reasons as to why like they might be better than each other. But Scottie conquered Augusta, and that is a thing that not many of those guys can say. And from being there, knowing how important that confidence is over the weekend and knowing that you can do it is huge. Like that's just strokes gained mental that not everyone has. And Scottie definitely has that. He might not have his A++ game right now, but he has that, which those other guys they don't have it. And like I said with the approach play, I trust his approach play more than those guys probably. I mean, Collin can have something to say about that, but Scottie might be a little longer. So I would say Scottie out of all those guys.
I think too, when we get to the majors, it's so important to just go look at the guys' trends in the majors over the last few years. There are certain guys who just show up and gain tee to green every single time they go to the majors. That they're just so consistent. And then there's guys who just aren't. Scottie obviously is at the top of that list as much as anyone. You know, you got Xander in there as well, some few other players that we'll talk about. But I trust Scottie to show up and generationally stripe this week, tee to green. Like, I see he loves this course. The only time Scottie gets in trouble is when he's kind of driving it offline a little bit and he has to like battle out of the trees. He still hits crazy shots and plays great, but that's when he can't just like go full board the whole time. Obviously, that's not a problem for him here. I totally agree with you on he's just done it. Who has more pressure going down the stretch, Scottie or Rory? Rory times
a million.
Trillions. Even someone like Brooks, if Brooks was up there, Brooks, like the only guy I would say, which of the guys, this is ultimate strokes gain dog question, going down the stretch, is there anyone who would feel more comfortable in that moment this week than Scottie? Or is there something else?
Scottie. Scottie is the one. Number one. Would you think there's anyone else?
I think if I just have to look at the dog rankings, and I already took Brooks hasn't won the Masters, so I have to lower him in that department. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. And so then the other piece, what excites me maybe even more about Scottie this week is I trust he's going to show up tee to green. I know he's got the dog. Jers, he's putting so much better than he was last year.
Yeah.
I know when he putted poorly, when you were on him in the top 10 market, infamously at Bay Hill, that was the low point. But he came back out at the Texan Children's Hospital Open in Houston and had a great putting performance. His L25 putting coming in this year is plus 0.5 per round. Coming into the Masters last year, his putting was 0.1. So over the course of a tournament, that's almost 2 strokes across the course of a tournament. So we have a Scottie who's a stroke to 2 strokes better at putting than he has been coming into this tournament in recent years. He's going to be tough to beat, Jers. He's going to be so tough.
Talked to his parents today too. They're just honestly, this is weird. Every single time I've talked to his parents, it's been the worst weather ever. Every time. So I just hopefully when I avoid them, it's good things, but in good spirits as usual.
But okay, so we both like Scottie. I haven't gotten to the DFS yet. I will Vic lap my DFS on fast greens from the Valero Houston Open. Gerard Thor.
The Valero Texas Open, not Houston.
Houston, yeah, Texas Open. But shout out to Thor. I did not expect that to work out, and it really
what a finish. Great call.
But anyways, yeah, like I think I'll have exposure to Scottie in some way, but obviously, I mean, I would say obviously if somehow he drifted, but that's the problem. He's not drifting. His number is staying the same. Like just because nobody's betting him in the Twitter sphere, the Masters is way bigger than the Twitter sphere is, and because of that, it's a whole new different world. And that's why I like to look at kind of the odds movements on the site. I don't think I can bet him. I don't really want to do the without market because watching the Masters without market would just be like not fun to watch. And at the end of the day, I value enjoying what I'm watching as much as well. So I might just YOLO it and take on Scott, even though I'm super scared and maybe more scared than whatever the average consensus is. How are you going to play? Are you going to go with the without? What are you going to do?
I don't think I'm going to go with without. I'll just take my chances not going back to back. That's just a tough task to do at Augusta. And then like if you want to do it without Scottie and Rory, I don't think I think I've kind of come full circle. My Scottie, I mean my Rory at Augusta love. I think I'm just going to take him on because I think that the approach play is more important to me personally. And I'm not saying Rory's hitting his irons bad, but if I'm really weighting the approach play higher than I might have normally weighted it, Rory messes up there from time and time again. So I think I'm going to take him on. And I mean, what did I say a few pods ago? Something about like everything has to happen before it happens, or like everything has to happen eventually.
You got a philosophical take. Yes, we were.
Yeah, so something could happen that we're not expecting, and I'm going to go with that. Like Nikolai winning again.
Or Rasmus, the Hoj is going back to back would be sick. It's sick they're both in the tournament also. There's a lot of guys who aren't in the tournament who I expected to be, and a lot of guys who are in the Masters who I was like, really? They're in the Masters? That's
like
sick.
Thirsty? When I saw Thirsty on the DFS board, I'm like, Shank T12 last year.
There are some guys in the Masters that were surprising. And then guys who aren't in the Masters that were also surprising. But at the end of the day, I will be rooting, I think, more for Rory this year than I've ever. I'm not a Rory guy. I'm not a Rory guy. I've just been out on Rory for a long time because I didn't think he could win the majors. And it's been like that forever. And I've just stuck by it. I used to be a Rory guy back in the day. It was more of like disappointment.
You copied your swing after him.
Back when I used to stripe. Yeah. 2010, 2012, right when Rory was generationally strapping too. Our golf games rose together. But I'll be rooting for him more this year than I have in a long time. It's time for Rory to win the Masters. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not afraid of him winning. If he wins and I'm not in the without market and my guy finishes second by 1 shot, fine. That's okay. Like I can live with that if Rory wins the Masters at the odds that he's at this week. But I won't be upset. And I think there's years in the past that had he won where I would have been like pissed about it because he would have been like middle or just like, it is what it is now. I'm on the other side of it. If he wins, he wins. I'll be happy for him. Are you rooting for him or do you not want to see it?
I mean, I think I bet Rory like the last 3 Masters. I'd be a little upset.
That's
a little upset.
That's fair. You have a different relationship with him. I haven't bet Rory in a major. I don't know if I've ever bet Rory in a major. I just don't do it. It's like it's.
I do.
You do it all the time, and you've suffered tough defeats. And mostly at the Masters, the reason it's never been a problem is because he usually plays terrible. He hasn't played good at the Masters. He had that second place finish, which was unserious backdoor.
Yeah.
When was the last time Rory, we were like, he has a great chance to win?
The teens. Oh, when he blew the big lead.
I know, but that was literally
it. Yeah. That was it. That was his best chance.
So yeah, I'm good on Rory. I'm much more afraid of Scottie than I am of Rory. I get it for Rory this year for the reasons that you talked about. I actually do think his iron play has been better. I think the course, I texted you this, that like those off the tee numbers I just mentioned, it's playing right into Rory's hands. The course is getting better for Rory every single year. That's why in some ways, it's not that I've accepted that this could be the year. Because again, there's too much scar tissue for me to like truly think it's going to happen. But he's too good at golf, Jers. The course sets up too good for him not to win the Masters. And he might just play so good. And when Rory's at the peak of his game, he might be so far ahead and like that. It's not like he's an idiot. He wins golf tournaments. He knows how to do it. He's saying all the right things. Maybe I'm optimistic. Maybe that's the word I would describe. Just for it's all going his way.
Yeah, I've been down that road before. Hey, I'm not out on it yet, but I mean, go listen to the short that we posted, the Master Type video. I gave my honest for just figure it out, dude. Just figure it out.
I think the hardest problem for him will be that has no caddy. All the other players who he'll be mixing against will have a caddy, which is super important at a course like Augusta Keys because you need to pick the right clubs. So that would ultimately. There's all of those pieces of the puzzle too. All the reasons why Rory doesn't win majors, why I still lean like I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm just saying
it's a lot of questions at like 6.5 to 1 is basically what you're saying.
And yeah, so I'm just good from a betting perspective. And I'm indifferent. If you bet Rory, do it because you love Rory. You know, I would say that's the Rory play this week, and that's totally fair. Okay, the next guy, it was a player who we just talked about a little bit earlier, a player who I think was going under the radar for a little bit, but then there was been a lot of steam on the Jon Rahm train over the last few weeks, I feel like, Jers, and then he played great over the weekend at Doral. He's now the third guy on the odds board, 13, 14 to 1. There's a lot of big names. We'll go through them, 6 to 8, 10 guys who I think at times could be threatening, a Xander, a Collin, a Ludwig, a Bryson. All those guys could be in this part of the odds range. It ends up being Rahm. I don't know if I would have totally expected that a few weeks ago, but I think it makes sense. Like if he was higher in the odds, let's say 20 to 1, I think it would be like a slam dunk bet for just too many people.
Yeah, if you have to ask me one LIV guy to win a major this year, it's definitely Rahm is my pick. But if you're a long-time listener, you know my take and my hill that I'm going to die on with the LIV guys. I'm not going to bet him. I'm just going to be out on him. But he is my favorite LIV guy, Jon Rahm.
I'm not out on LIV guys, and that just so the people that are not regular listeners know, your LIV stance is no LIV bets in the majors this year and last year.
Yeah, and the year before. I've 1 for 3 each year. No, 1 for 4 each year.
Yeah, and that's
3 for 4 each year.
I'm not out on it, and I did hit Brooks, so I'm like more biased, I feel like, towards it. But if his odds were higher, I think it'd be in. I'm still going to consider it because it just makes so much sense. He's driving it so much better. The short game's there. He never wins on LIV because he needs the 4 rounds.
You always get that drift like late Tuesday and Wednesday. Who knows what you can get, like maybe you get 19 or something.
We'll see.
Don't rush your Masters card. Wednesday morning, the numbers are insane, and I think for the pod listeners, for the subs, personally, you can't rush greatness. I might wait till like early Wednesday to get the card together because we see it every single year. Crazy drift on Wednesday morning. Would you agree with that, Adam?
I would 100% agree on the drift. I think the year that Hovland mixed pretty hard, I think when Rahm won, I bet Hovland at like 45 or 50 to 1 like the day before. And that was when Vic was like 25 to 1. He just drifted the whole week. And then I think he tied for the first round lead, played good the whole week. Was like mixing it was mixing going in the final round. I will say, if you're saying we have to wait for greatness, I'm expecting a generational card. If that's, if strokes gained dog, if like you're going to promise us a generational card, I'll be excited to see. But I agree. I'll be waiting to do my card until I have one bet. Like I said, I've locked in one bet. I have some guys I'm watching, and I think that's what I like. That's why I said it. Kind of the in and out list. I'm just going to be monitoring these numbers as the week goes on and see what jumps out, and hopefully put together a solid card. Okay, the other guy under 20 to 1. I don't think you can get above 20 to 1 on Collin Morikawa. Collin Morikawa is a guy I think I've bet, not last year. He was in terrible form coming in here last year and mixed very hard going into at least the 9th hole. He has played great here for about 3 or 4 years in a row. I bet him, I think 2 years ago, he played pretty solidly. What is the Collin Morikawa State of the Union for you at 18 to 1?
Strokes gained approach, massive to me, but I think I could find just as solid strokes gained approach and just as high ceiling at double the odds. So I'll leave it at that.
You're out on everybody below 20 to 1.
I think so. I really do think so. I really do think so. And like, Collin doesn't win. Collin has great course history, but I really think that he's due to have not a top freaking 8 at the Masters, and it's just so based on this approach play that I could find some other guys who hit their irons just as well as Collin right now. So why would I take that dip at 16, 18, whatever the number is, when I could find some very similar approach play at double the number?
Well, I think
that's the only thing you're doing is the approach play.
This is where strokes gained dog really comes into the equation. We're at the Masters, Jers. If strokes gained dog was ever going to matter, let's talk about that. Number 1, strokes gained dog. Obviously, Brooks Koepka. Brooks maintains strokes gained dog number 1. He's earned it. Nobody wins more majors over the last 7-8 years than Brooks. Just won a couple years ago. He's mixed at the Masters before. I've been betting him every week on LIV because I'm betting him every week over 20 to 1 on LIV. I've been tracking him closely. His short game is like the best that it's been for him in a long time, going into like maybe one of the best ever going to the Masters. But his swing has been a little bit off the P. Not terrible, but fine. How do you feel about Brooks? I know you're not betting LIV guys, so I think that you can give an honest take that out and just tell me how you feel about Brooks, because I know you still assess him on a week-to-week basis. It's kind of weird for me. I think the numbers varies like 30 to 35 to 1, but his game is backwards to what it usually is. And maybe he's only been practicing the short game because he has so much dog. He knows that that's all he needs to practice, and then he'll just swing for the fences at Augusta because it's wide open. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of all the LIV guys. Is Brooks in the top 5? Is Brooks in my top 5 this week? Let me just think of this on the top right now. 1, Rahm. 2, who's your 2? Bryson?
Yeah.
Okay. Bryson is definitely in my top 3. Okay. 3. Is it Brooks? Is it, I don't know why I'm blanking on these LIV guys. Brooks, Cam, Wako. Oh, Wako.
That's what I was. Let's list them all out. We need to have them all presented here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rahm, Brooks,
Bryson,
Jocko, Patrick Reed, DJ.
Okay, Brooks is in the top 5. He's in my top 5.
This is actually a really important conversation because I'm considering a few of these guys. I'm out on Rahm because I'm not betting the 13 or 14 to 1. I would strongly. Okay, so Brooks we started this with the dog rankings. Let's factor this in as we talk about these guys. Brooks is number 1 in the dog rankings, but he hasn't been playing great. The short game's dialed. The long game is not dialed. The next guy is Bryson. He's ahead of Rahm. Bryson has unlimited dog except last week at LIV Doral, but he might not care. For me with Bryson, he is going to pulverize the course off of the tee. What he's doing right now off of the tee is even more impressive than it ever was before. He's hitting it so long and so straight. He's going to be flipping clubs into these greens. We saw it last year for a couple days. I just do not trust him around the greens.
No, I think that's fair. I really do think that's fair. But what he did around the greens at Pinehurst was otherworldly stuff. I don't think it's just going to happen again. So I'm going to try to rank these guys.
But here's my question.
One.
Hold on.
Okay, what was the question? What's the question?
On Bryson, like at 20, what is those odds? You get 20 to 1. Are you willing to take the chance again? If you were betting LIV Guys, that he could have a Pine like chip?
Yeah,
Because if he chips like he does at Pine, he will probably win by 5 strokes.
I'm Vic clapping and inventing Bryson at the Masters. I've been on him at the Masters like 5 years ago. I've always loved him there. So yeah, if I was betting these LIV Guys, I would be betting Bryson. That's a fact. So yes, I'm in 2. I rank him 2.
But so from let's do value ranking of the LIV Guys. Your number 1 from like a who you would actually bet
Rahm.
if you were betting the LIV Guys. So it's Rahm and then Bryson for you. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me look.
And then what's Joaquin's number?
He's drifting. He's 40.
Okay, Joaquin.
For me, the value, I will go Bryson 1. I don't know how to feel about Jocko. Like long-time listeners will know I had a long statement about Jocko just a few weeks ago. I said I think Quail Hollow, where we need to be focused. He played so bad in Doral.
So bad.
And there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that it was just Doral's really hard and he was driving it offline, and this course is entirely different off the tee. And what I think Jocko can do at Augusta and what he's done at places like Riviera, which obviously comps well here, he's played good at Kapalua, is when it's open driving, Jocko will nuclear launch it down the middle. And we've talked about all the shapes and the flights and controlling spin, like Jocko's your guy. So it could be thrown off the scent, bad week. Let's give Jocko a chance, and his numbers drifting because of that. The other is he realizes the Masters is the next event and all the pressure is on him, and Jocko has negative dog in those moments, and he disappoints us again. I really don't know how to feel about it.
I think he's still my 3, just based on the odds and his ceiling. And then I would say my 4 is Brooks, 5, Charles Schwartzel. That's my top 5 for LIV.
Charles, I almost bet Charles in Miami, and he was playing.
He finished. He had a strong finish. I don't remember where he finished, but he had a strong finish.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Jocko too is like, yes, he's played bad in the majors. We know that. But again, Augusta sets up so nice for him, and he's been T22, T16 here the last 2 years. It's not like he's been awful at Augusta. He's been fine. And do I think he wins? Probably not. But is he capable of putting up the stat line to win the tournament? Yes, he's done it multiple times before in golf tournaments all over the world. There's not a lot of guys in the field who can say that they've done it. He's done it. At 40 to 1, is that fair? Probably. So he's probably, I would go Bryson 1 for value, Jocko 2, Rahm 3. I like the LIV Guys down the board. I like Sergio. I genuinely like Phil, and I like P. Reed. Phil is playing legitimately good.
500 to 1 at LIV Hong Kong. If that happens again, he's like 50 to 1.
He might be a live favorite.
Yeah. But he's not bombing anymore. I'll say that. He's not hitting the ball far.
No, and his short game's not as like sick as it used to be. But if people haven't been watching LIV, because that's the thing, there's a lot of people probably haven't been watching, and some narratives of LIV are true and some are not. Phil is legitimately playing good. When you watch him play with the other top players in the world, they're in the same featured groups every time. He's hitting it as good as anyone. He might have won last week, but he got the worst break ever. Did you see his shot?
Of all time. Yeah.
Hit the flag, went into the water.
He went in the water so many times last week.
And he finished like 6th. You said anyone under par at Doral should tip their cap. I think he finished -1.
Yeah, 100%. That was a test of golf, to say the least.
I would tell anyone. I also, to be fair, bet Phil Mickelson at LACC. And I felt kind of good about it. He played terribly. But if you're a Phil fan, if you're someone in your life who's been a Phil supporter, bet Phil this week. Why would you not give Phil, like, he's over 100 to 1?
I don't think that's a good number, though.
Oh, I'm not saying the numbers. I'm saying there's people who listen to the pod for the majors. And like, as we've said before, if you're betting golf every week, at the end of the day, this is just another week of golf for like people who bet every week. You do the same things. But if you're a fan of Phil and you're watching the Masters, is it maybe 1 in 1,000 chance he wins? Yes. But he legitimately is capable in how he's currently playing golf. There are plenty of players in the field who have absolutely no chance of winning. I genuinely think Phil could win.
Okay. Fair.
That's my Phil stance.
Yeah, just bet Phil and Scottie. That's your card.
Yeah, just vibe. Rory and Phil, if you want like the vibiest card of all time.
Yeah, I'm in.
And then the other one who's probably generationally striping harder than anyone and has won the Masters also, Sergio. Sergio fucks at golf. Period. End of story.
Okay, he's in the top 10 generational flushers of all time with Lucas Glover. We don't know the other 8 so far, but those 2 are in the top 10, and we can make a list in the future. But yeah, Sergio's playing such good golf. I went on Mayo's show last week. Obviously, he went on like a 5-minute tangent about Sergio and about how much he loves him.
He's hard in on Sergio.
Hard in, like if you can make one bet, it's Sergio. So, and I don't fault anyone for that because he makes a ton of sense here. Photoshop him in with the green jacket and the Fireballs outfit. I'm in. Sergio is just playing such good golf.
Sergio 80 or Jocko 40, which is a better bet?
It's got to be Sergio. It has to be.
That's a question. I'm going to be asking myself. I don't know.
He's not going to win.
Phil might win. Phil is under consideration for the card. Missing Phil week when I have any inkling that Phil could win, I'd never forgive myself. Okay, back to the top of the board. We went down the LIV train, so that's good. Yeah, those are our LIV assessments. I'm a Brooks guy. I bet Brooks a lot. I'm probably out, Jers, this time. But maybe
I feel like he's got to be auto of 30 plus. If I wasn't in the field that I was in, he'd be auto.
We'll see. I might bet him. I always bet Brooks, so that's still highly likely that I would bet Brooks, but something to monitor at the top of the board. Okay, the non-LIV guys. I'm surprised. As of a few weeks ago, Ludwig Oberg, he said the Oberg part. I watched that interview with Dylan Dyther. It was a great interview. I think he said Oberg. It's not Oberg. He was like, I don't know. It has the G at the end. Oberg.
Yeah.
Shout out the Viking Cup. Obviously, we want to try to get these names the best that we can. He was going to win the Masters. We've talked about this with Ludwig before. He was going to win Torrey Pines when it was Farmers. Then his career was over, and then he won at the Genesis, and then his career's been over again. Is his career unover, Jers? Is he in play at the Masters?
I have a side bet with Keith Stewart that he'll close 20-1 or in the 20s, and Keith thinks
he'll be in the 20s. He'll be in the 20s for sure.
All right, so I'm gonna cash that $5 from Keith. Thank you very much. And he looked good today. Hot take, one of the few guys I saw from Boots. He looked good today. The approach play has been rough for Ludwig the last few weeks, but looked okay, and it looks like to be in a league of his own. He's very confident, and he has the. I talked about how you need to be a dog. It's a dog. Like you have to have that next level, that next year. Ludwig is in that group for sure.
He definitely has an aura. When you walk by Lud, he's got an aura. I won't deny that. But I don't necessarily agree that he has dog. I think we're split. Obviously, you had this success on Lud, so you have a different perspective. And to be frank, Lud has done nothing but completely fuck me in my career with Lud, but I don't hold it against him. As we've said this before, I like Lud. I'm fine with Lud, but I also have to say he's wrong to me every time.
You used to hate Lud.
I've never
hated
Lud.
Still hate Lud.
This is what I will say. I still don't. When you look at Lud's stats, they're not that good. He doesn't look like a 20-1 golfer. With that, and I stand by that. With that being said, I think Lud could be a guy who just has courses where he plays good. That's why and that's the thing. He's been playing really bad. I get why he's not as popular this week. I get why people aren't talking about him. as much as they were a few weeks ago. He hasn't been playing good at all. He missed the cut last week. Like, was he up there favorite? Like up there?
Yeah, he was the favorite.
And
Valero.
Yeah, he's missed 2 cuts in a row, but he's striping off the tee. And he played good here last year. I worry about the around the green with Ludwig too. That's the part where I don't know if I can get there, but I'm not out on Lud this week, I would say.
I think I have to be out just based off like the 2 biggest things I took away from today was the approach play and like the around the green. And he's not doing those things. Like he doesn't have them right now. So I just think I have to be out. And like, is he going to go runner up win? Probably not.
And I'm out on Lud if you're out on Lud. I like at the end of the day, if you are out on Lud, I'm not interested. There's certain guys. Xander's another one. Let's talk about Xander. I would only decide on Xander exclusively based on your opinion. You know Xander in the majors more than anyone knows anything about anything. We've talked about this before. I know if you would have seen him, we would be able to 100% go with whatever you say. So I'll give you a small discount there. Xander, drifting, injured, back, gave a good interview, said, I'm feeling good. I said, I've talked about having the dog. He said, that's really all that matters. He said, if I get into the mix, I know I have the ability to win the majors. That's the difference for me now. But he said that he just like, I don't know if I'll get in the mix, but if I do, I just feel really good about it. A guy who could beat Scottie. I would say if Scottie and Xander were going down the stretch and Xander's striping again, I would take Xander.
Yeah. I don't think he's there.
No,
yet.
I wouldn't.
I don't think.
Actually, I wouldn't. I would not take Xander. Even striping Xander at Augusta specifically. I think I'd stick with Scottie.
Okay, I probably agree with you, but I don't think Xander's there yet. Didn't see him. I saw him at Innisbrook. And like my biggest take around the Innisbrook thing is I think his strokes gain approach revolutionary performance was a product of the weaker field more than it was a product of Xander being back. He's not green. The short game isn't there. And the short game will come over time, but it's just not going to randomly pop up at Augusta after it hasn't been there all season long. That's what happens when you take time off. It takes guys some time to get the short game back in order. And if you don't have that, you're just going to be behind the 8 ball. Xander is, I thought, like he was what, 20-1 at Innisbrook. I remember I said to you, the book should make him 45-50-1 and just bait everyone into betting him because he can't win right now. And I kind of feel the same way about it. Like I don't think he's ready.
Yeah, I'm good on Xander too, especially like I said, if you're good. But that means, George, we've gone through the top names of the board. You've yet to say anyone, and it's concerning me about what's going to happen here. The next guy on the odds for Jerry's at 25-1 is an artistic player, a man who, if artistry is what you're after, Augusta National would be the place to go for it. You want a guy who hits it far off the tee. You want a guy who's good with his irons. You want a guy who's good around the greens who you don't really care if he makes that many putts or not. Justin Thomas is next on the odds board. Jersey, is he under consideration for the card?
Like when we're doing our pod on Monday to talk RBC Heritage, are we gonna like laugh at me starting my card with Justin Thomas 25-1? Like when he finishes T33? Like, am I going to do it?
Most likely we will be, but he could. I'm not like, I don't hate it. I don't like it. I'm indifferent, I would say.
Like, does Justin Thomas's career as a golfer, does he win a green jacket? Like, okay, maybe yes or no. Is anyone surprised if Justin Thomas wins a green jacket?
No one's surprised, George. But to me, the question is will his brain allow him? We've talked about it every time. And where I think he could do it, and I feel like I've started to get an okay read on JT. I said at Valspar that he was going to cut, his only chance was being in the bad wave and coming from behind because it would get out of his head.
Yeah.
I think Augusta's a place where if you're going to take all the clubs out of the bag and come up with 7-8 different shots to hit the green from 170 yards, if it ever was going to actually be a good thing to do, you can do that at Augusta. But you can also do stupid stuff. Does Justin Thomas go the whole week without making a double bogey?
No.
Can he beat Scottie Rory, the other top guys in this tournament, if he makes at least one double bogey?
Yes.
If he makes two double bogeys?
No.
Okay, so the line for you, if I told you right now that JT was going to make two double bogeys, you're out. And if I told you he's going to make one, you're going to stick with it.
Well, I haven't done anything yet, but I think it's possible. Yeah, if he makes it, he might. I mean, Jon Rahm started this tournament with double bogey.
Jon Rahm is a more serious golfer than Justin Thomas.
Who has more major championships?
Oh, they're tied, right?
Fuck. No, I think JT has more.
JT has 2 PGAs. Those don't even count.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Rahm has the U.S. Open and the Masters. The people would take Rahm's wins every time.
That's a horrible take.
You've had good ones and bad ones, so that one was on the bad side. But I don't think I'll bet JT. I'm not saying I'm not going to bet him.
Who has more PGA Tour wins? JT.
You can't take that. I've bet him.
I'm just kidding.
I always end up just betting the same guys at Augusta. It's like a comfy blanket. You're like, oh, I'll bet these guys. Like, they make sense, and they're 25. You can bet like 3 of them, and they're going to play great.
Like Pat?
He's next, yeah. It's truly range of despair at Augusta. It's more the range
Pat
of despair.
No chance.
Want to know who has a chance, but probably also has absolutely no chance, but he does at least have a chance, is Hideki.
No one's talking about Hideki. Hideki is probably going to be the first round leader, and we're all going to be like, fuck.
I wrote up about Hideki. I've faded Hideki the last 2 tournaments. I'm becoming a little bit of a Hideki fade whisperer, which is a risky game. It's like derivative trading. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, like synthetics. You don't want to be fading Hideki consistently. But like, it's worked for me 2 times in a row. I think I'm buying the super dip on Hideki because when I wrote up the fade, I said the only thing that matters for Hideki at Valero is how he drives it. And he drove it nice for the first time in a while. Because the reason I was fading him was because it saw his driving gave me the heebie-jeebies. It was like the scariest thing I've ever seen. And he's been losing a ton with accuracy. He striped it down the middle. He fucks in majors. Who cares what his form is? It doesn't really matter. Hideki could win.
You know what's crazy? The amount of respect given to like past Masters champions is insane. You get no breaks on the odds. Like, we get a little break with Hideki, but like not as much as we should.
Would you bet Hideki?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody could feel bad for
Soto solo prep.
If Hideki won, would a single person want to know what caps with Augusta? Kapalua. Want to know one Kapalua? Hideki. If Hideki wins at 33-1 and we're not on him, apology. Like,
no, the real guy that is obvious down the board, and we'll get to him eventually. But he's like, there's so many things that like make sense.
Okay. Here's the other. Okay, these guys all go together because they're equal levels of unserious, but interesting in their own ways. Spieth, Pat. What? You have to talk about Pat. Actually, let's pause here for a second. You bet Pat last week.
Were you surprised?
No, nothing you could do could surprise me. Honestly, I was the
after
most
after Sungjae.
That's the most surprising bet you've ever done. That one is number 1 for sure. I wasn't that surprised. And I didn't hate it. I was like, whatever. Like, Pat never wins. And literally, you've said multiple times he's an unserious golfer who will never win again. But now you're going to bet him 19-1. He was violently unserious putting. Every time. And go look at his putting stats at Augusta. They are atrocious. Pat putts so bad on these greens year after year after year. What's happened last week and what's going to happen this week?
He was trying to win the tee to green market, and he got pissed that he was getting lapped by a few other guys like Harmon, but he just wanted to win the ball striking, and he was close, so he can take that. That's it. And then he didn't care about the rest of it. I don't even know if he like lined at the putts. He just wanted to like get to the next hole as quick as possible.
if you're a Cantlay backer this week, which maybe I'll be a Cantlay backer this week. I don't know. I probably not. I don't think there's any way I could bet Pat. Another guy I'll be really rooting for, though. That's the thing about the Masters. There's certain guys that, as long as they're not like beating my guy by one, except for Rory. I don't actually know. I would still prefer my guy beat Rory by one. But if Rory won by one, I would not be that upset. Same with Pat. Like, I'll be rooting for Pat. But if you're going to back Pat at 40-1, you have to accept the fact that he's lost 2.4 strokes putting last year, 2.6 the year before, 5.2 the year before that, and missed the cut, losing 4 over 2 rounds. And he comes in here off of, to my eyes, what was one of the worst putting performances I've ever seen. How would Pat solve his putting? Do you think he can do it? Can he overcome that putting and have any chance to win?
I really don't think he can. Like, it was so unserious last week. It was like 5 missed within 4 feet, 5 feet in like a 18-hole stretch over 2 days. It was a tough scene, and I was hard tracking. Just packed it in. But he's definitely in the top 5 of guys, like, no matter bet or not bet, that I would like be so happy if they won.
And as we said last pod, he changed up the prep at least. I think the problem is, yeah, I think so. I think he's definitely in it for me. I think my top 5 just vibes-based winners would be Pat, Brooks. I'll count both of the Højgaards as one player.
Bob Mack.
If I'm on him, 100%. If I'm not, I wouldn't be. And I'm talking about players I'd be happy whether I'm on them or not on them. I'd be pretty upset on the other guys, but I'm more fans of those guys, I would say.
Cam Davis.
Only if I'm on him. Yeah, it'd be too devastating. I'd be too devastated. Honestly. Okay. It would hurt too bad.
Willie Z, Pat. Honestly, you're probably right about Cam Davis. I'd be too upset.
It would hurt so bad.
And like Willie Z, I don't know, but those two for sure.
Davey T. Davey T won't win, but Davey T can win. Davey T is one of my favorite like DFS.
Oh, J-Day. I'd be happy if J-Day won.
In the Malvin gear. That would be nice. Davey T, though. That is my fast greens play. What was he? I think he's 7K on Davey T. You want to know who can nuke off the tee and is nasty around the greens and can also hit his irons fine, not like amazing.
And can dunk.
Yeah.
Not many guys in the field can dunk. Davey T can dunk.
Okay, so Spieth, Cantlay, where'd these guys go? Spieth, Cantlay, Tommy, fucking Tommy, dude. Yeah, the thing is, it's like
I forgot about him.
I respect nothing. Like, comments are welcome and encouraged. Like, people should give their takes. We give wrong takes all the time. I declared Thomas Dietrich would never win on the PGA Tour, and a couple weeks later, he won on the PGA Tour. I've been very wrong many times. Why were there people like we were saying 14-1 Tommy was a terrible bet, and people were like 14-1 Tommy, this is the week, no one's on him. Like, Tommy 14-1. Like, he's 40-1 this week. Would you bet Tommy? Can he win the Masters?
Well, I mean, he hit the closest shot on the toughest hole on Sunday.
It's every week those stats pop up. It's legit. Your like Twitter threads on it are so funny. It just connects throughout the season because it's true.
It's so good. I don't know if there's anything more unserious than just Tommy this season for Tommy. I actually think it's the most unserious thing of all time.
I would say there's something about betting like a super unserious Masters cards, like purely just like
so fun,
like like an artisanal card that's just way too fancy and has no chance of actually winning. But you have so many different random guys like Tommy, where you're like 40-1 Tommy, the Masters, it could happen.
I think I bet Tommy in 2 majors last year.
We both bet him at Ball, and if you're saying it's similar driving conditions, then I could be down. Fucking Tommy, dude. Okay. This range is just hilarious. Spieth, Cantlay, Fleetwood, Lowry, Vic, Miracle Win, Vic, those guys. Russ Henley, Bob Mack.
Russ Henley is the guy who makes the most sense. Russ, not for like bomber-wise, obviously, but just comparisons. He's got a top 5 at Augusta. He won Bay Hill. He's got other top 5s this season. If he were to win, we would look back on it and be like, oh wow, that made sense. Like those boxes all checked out. Why wouldn't I bet him at 60-1? I don't know if I'm going to. And Russ Henley is like a guy who's going to stick to his game plan, play within himself, not try to do too much if he gets in trouble. He'll make a bogey rather than making a triple, and just go along with his day. Russ Henley makes sense in that regard.
Yeah, somebody like messaged me when I tweeted out the driving stat and asked me like, will that keep Russ from winning?
That's why he's not winning. That's why.
And I think honestly it is. Like I think he won't drive it well enough to gain as many strokes off the tee if he needs to win. But I do also think he's good enough at everything else that if there was a guy who can do it, Russ would be the one. So I was surprised when I didn't realize he had drifted to 55. If that continues up, I agree with you purely from he's capable. Except again, there's that glaring weakness and like against the historical stats here that makes it tough. But when that number gets to a certain point, then it becomes a lot more fair. And I think it's at least trending in that direction. I really like Bob Mack. We both really like Bob Mack. Bob Mack, we're probably as much Bob Mack guys as anyone. We've been to Scots. We spent time on the western coast of Scotland. We support his search for par. The numbers make sense. The numbers make sense, Jers. Just hit it to the middle of the green. Attack the par 5s. He drives it well. He hits his irons good. He's great around the greens. He's good with his long irons. He's left-handed. He's played well here before. He has dog beyond any level of human measure.
Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to add. That's Bob Mack makes so much sense. I'm with you. I would love to get there this week.
Yeah, we'll see. He's more popular than I was hoping. We've been riding Bob Mack under the radar most of the year, I would say. I think I've written him up and put him in my DFS lineups every week. 8K, 9K. I've just been
working.
Generationally clicking Bob Mack. And I would if he won and I wasn't on him, never bet again. I would never bet again. If I don't, I'll say that right now. I mean it. I'm dead serious. If I end up not betting Bob Mack, which I might, I really might. It's just strongly likely that I do for this exact reason. But if I don't and he wins, I will never bet on golf ever again.
Wow.
Do you think that's fair?
Yeah. That's fair. You have to bet Bob Mack.
Left-handed Masters, my guy. I've bet him every event the entire season. It would be horrible beyond measure.
If he won and you were on him, how many days of the week would you wear the Bob Mack par shirt? It's coming soon, by the way.
Forever. I would literally never take it off. I would.
Yeah, you'd order a bunch.
I can't think of a guy that if I'm on them, I'll be happier about than Bob Mack. Hitting Bob Mack will make me happier than hitting any other golfer in the field. And for all these reasons, I have to bet him. I would sound like an insane person if I said these things and then didn't bet him, but I make bad decisions sometimes. So we'll have to see. Okay. We get into this next range. Lots of options. You 60s to 80s. Those will probably drift. No rush on any of these guys. Minwoo hits it far. Just one. Not a links course, but is the links course flowchart dead? Willie Z, your guy, Masters savant.
Where is his number? He has drifted.
65-1, Jers on Zalatoris. What does this mean?
I thought it was gonna be 45-1.
You're in. You've got to be in then.
Yeah.
I could be down. I honestly could be down. I really could. I could start.
I've said too many amazing things about Willie Z this year.
I do this too. I have to. I don't even know. Imagine I start my card Bob Mack, Willie Z. I've done stuff like that all year.
Oh, yeah.
They've mixed. They don't win. It's probably a bad idea. But I'm down for Willie Z. I'm down.
Yeah. he's been doing so many good things this year, and he's like steadily. He's not like peaking, but he's just steadily bubbling and getting a little bit better, a little bit better. And this is a course that he loves more than any course, and it makes so much sense for him as a golfer. And just like what I've seen from him at Boots this entire year, what I've heard from his team at Boots all year has been nothing but positives. And like it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Just keep knocking on the door. Not that he's knocked on the door, but I really think he can get into the mix and play well. And 65 is crazy. Like, I'm in. I mean, he was 100 last year. I know that. But he was in, like, negative form. He knows what he's doing now.
I am pretty sure I'm in. I would be in to a level beyond measure if he took that stupid putter, bent it over his legs, threw it away, and went back to the old putter jers, because he used to putt these greens like one of the greatest putters of all time. So that was one of the reasons why he always played good here. He can do it. Like, it's not like it's some weeks he putts good with the long putter. It just looks so uncomfortable. And then we talked about it before, and then the broadcast is going to be like, Will Zalatoris says no putts ever rolled smoother than this. I'm out on the long putter, but that'd be the only thing that could keep me off him. But the numbers
65, yeah, that's nuts.
Okay, Corey Connors ejected last week.
Easy,
Cam
top
Smith,
10.
unserious golfer. Tony Finau. I mean, Cam Smith fucks here, but he's not playing serious golf at all. He's 60-1. Finau, you hate Finau because you think he doesn't care about golf. He's 75-1. Akshay 75-1. There's Sergio, your boy JJ. Akshay,
yeah. I mean, I love the bounce back spot. Like defending champ last week, a ton of pressure. Second Masters now, lefty, fader, hits a decent, great iron player. Akshay, yeah. And
okay.
I wasn't even thinking that until you brought him up. I'm going to have to like deep dive him these next few days now, but early, like just at the core, Akshay, and he had maybe his worst around the green performance ever last week. Tough, but that is actually a thing. But he was really good around the green last year. It's a good number. No, it's not going to be perfect. It's a good number.
That's fair. I think I'm probably out on Akshay, but I'm always in on Akshay at a metaphorical level. You know, Akshay would be on my list of guys that if they won, I would be very happy for Akshay. The next guy, I got 100-1 on a bet online. Who also, did you see? Look at the Vince tweet about the fact that they are supporting the Betfred British Masters, which is beautiful to see from Bet Online, and I support that. It could be a sign of the Euros playing well this week. There's 90-1. There's plenty of what I would say fair numbers. Like this number could go down to 70-1. It's just where I would say is reasonable to me. Wyndham Clark jers. That's the one bet that I have locked in. Wyndy C.
I have no idea it was that number. I love it.
Wyndy C has been hitting.
I love not looking at the odds board. It's one of my favorite things to do.
If there's a guy who can put the stat line that I want, which is gain 4 to 5 off the tee, gain like 3 to 4 with your irons, and then gain 4 around the greens and like 3 or 4 putting, Wyndy can definitely do that. And he legitimately won the U.S. Open and beat Rory McIlroy at another bomber-focused course. Is he playing the best he's ever played? No. Is he hitting his irons better? Yes. Can he score on the par 5s? Sure. 100-1. Like I said, I'd go down to 70. That's the only bet I've placed so far this week. And even if he finishes last place, which he could, I think he's very volatile, like maybe not as exciting in other markets. Just give me Wyndy.
He was like 40-1 last year, super trendy in his first Masters, super buzzy. And now that's waved off. He's got some more reps at Augusta under his belt. I did see him early on the putting green, like just grinding with his caddy. Something to note. But like in the Hurricane. Only person to play golf in the Hurricane, Jose Maria. Factor that into your models.
Well,
who cares?
He's counting down. He's only got so many more times to play Augusta. He's going to get his rounds in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you on Wyndy though. I do like.
Yeah, so we'll see. I like Wyndy down here. Okay, we're into the triple digitsters, which usually means random Euro of the week. Do you want to do random Euro of the week?
Nicky Nations.
Okay. Tell the people more about that.
Should I even say who Nicky Nations is? Nicky Nations. I love this golf course for him because, at least from what I'm saying, I'm
You
not
have to
going to
tell
say it.
people. You got to tell people who
No,
Nicky Nations is, because
I mean, our descriptions.
It'll say Nicky Nations in the descriptions. Who
right.
is Nicky Nations?
Nico,
if he had won the Valspar, I would be cool with exclusively Nicky Nations, but he kind of screwed us, so we have to take that away.
Yeah. Nicky Nations is my random Colombian European of the week. I like the way the golf course sets up for him because he is a guy that Adam and I have been adamant about saying when he gets a clean lie from the fairway, he's generational approach player. And he's going to get clean lies from the fairways all week with the wide landing areas. And he spoke about on Dan Rapp's show, shout out D-Rap, that he's driven up to Augusta a few times recently and like played it and liked it and played it really well. I mean, that's a lot different than playing in the real rounds, obviously, but I think Nicky Nations can have a decent week and flirt with a T10. So, probably get a good number on that, 200 to 1, something like that. Probably not going to bet him outright, but he's a confident golfer, played with Ludwig today, and a golfer that I think I'm higher on than most.
Yeah, I love Nico. I have no issue with that. I would say that there's a lot of pressure on this because last year we famously gave out Cam Davis random year of the week, 350 to 1 official play of the show, and it obviously was compelling television. I need your thoughts on this guy. He's a guy you know well. My random Euro of the week is actually a Euro, but he's one of the least Euros of all of the Euros. He is 275 to 1. He hits the ball with abandon. He will nuke it off the tee. He can stripe his irons. He can fuck around the greens, and his putter is hot. Stevie Yagsters, big ballpark, let it rip from the tee. Stevie Yags, 275 to 1. That's my random Euro of the week.
The thing is, he doesn't know the prestige and history about the Masters. Exactly. He's playing a golf tournament. He's there to hit balls as hard as he can. And if he's hitting the center of the club face, he can win by 4. Stevie Yags is one of the few guys who can win by 4, and no one be surprised.
He would not fear Scottie down the stretch.
Oh God, no.
He wouldn't even know Scottie was playing. He's not thinking about it. It doesn't matter to him. 275 to 1.
He knows this guy named Scottie, but he doesn't know who Scottie Scheffler is. He just knows it's one of his golfing competitors. He doesn't know his history. I think that's a good number.
Yags is 6,300 in DFS. I'm a believer in Yags. It's a volatile. If you can play, I think I bet him at Valhalla, and I think he played maybe the first 5 holes better than anyone's ever played golf before. Yeah, so I like Yags on these types of golf courses. I would say I'm a medium level of success Jaeger supporter. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. But I could just see him
swiping his irons,
dude. He's hits it he can play well. I'm not saying that he will, but of the guys in this area, he could do it. His stats fit.
I'm about to say we could make this the official pick of the pod.
You're in for making it?
In. I did not know what you were gonna say. I didn't know he was striping that hard. I'm in.
Okay. I'm happy that we have come together on that. He also was popping off in the leg putting stats, Jers, and you need to be able to leg putt at Augusta. Everybody knows that.
If you're not in the lag putting markets every day, then what are you doing?
I think if we like Yags, we need different types of exposure to him as well. We need DFS, maybe a first round leader, things like that, because the Yags could have a moment, but the moment could. There's going to be guys this week from down the board who flash up there, like when Nikolai won last year. And then that moment, it's going to be a bit of lightning shoots through there. I think that's what happens with Stevie Yags in the end.
Yags is going to hit the fairway on 11 on Sunday with tie for the lead, and the flag's going to be tuck left, and he's going to try to go cut it over the water, and he's going to rinse it.
His drive's on 13 around the corner. He will either
break records.
It will either be the longest drives ever measured on 13 and 2 potentially, or it's going to be the biggest hook left off of the planet. If he gets to any of the par fives near the lead, he needs to take irons off of the tee.
Remember when he didn't hit driver on the 18th hole at Sony?
I do. I forgot about that. Was
after no one's bombing gouged the course harder than ever. He's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna hit 3 wood here.
Okay. In the triple digits, down the board, outside of the Euros, who do you have your eyes on? Who are you looking to snipe down the board from a long shot perspective this week? Get them in your DFS lineups. Get them in like low debutant, those types of markets, low European, like those types of bets that people might be placing this week. Give us some names that we need to be keeping our eyes on.
Low deb, Maverick. I really like Maverick in those markets. I wonder what his odds are there.
You want to do Davey T? You want to do Davey T versus Maverick
head to head?
Head to head?
Yeah. Yes. Is this Davey T's first Masters, I would assume?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you like Davey T. I like Maverick. I think there's cases for both of them, but Maverick, I mean, he's got a lot to play for. A top 10 could a strong top 10 could really get him into the Ryder Cup picture firmly. And he's just playing good golf, really good golf across the board. Hitting the irons well. We know he could pop on the putting greens and around the greens, but my worry with him is that it's his first time and his little brother's on the caddy. I don't trust him pulling numbers over the weekend, but I don't think he's going to win. Low deb markets, like maybe top 20s. I'm down.
Him and Davey T are right next to each other on the odds board, around 150 to 1. So let's do $10 on higher finish between Davey T and Maverick. And it's not that I don't like Maverick. I actually do like Mav this week.
I just like Davey more.
I'm just going to scan and toss out some names. Berger.
Like Berger, great bounce back week here. He's doing everything well. He's doing everything good.
He's also doing nothing great.
But he's not doing anything bad. And for a triple digits like this number, like you can do a lot worse statistically. It's not like he's 40 to 1. Like this is a good number on Berg.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I did it. It just jumped out to me. Yeah, how consistent he's been across the board. I was surprised that Keegan was this far down here. He opened it like 135 to 1. Like Keegan's, I mean, his putting performance last week at the Valero Texas Open, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Anytime, this is why like I have a love-hate relationship with Keegan. When I bet Keegan, he misses more 2-foot putts than anyone in the history of golf every single time. Every time I don't bet him, he's handing the putter to his caddy. He's bowing to the caddy. He's fucking doing that every single time. And I'm tired of it. I really am. He's in my head. I think about should I bet him or not every week. Like, what's the deal? Which is Keegan a fair number up here?
Yeah, I mean the number is I don't love Keegan, but the number makes sense. And if there's ever a time when he's going to contend in the Masters, I think it's this year.
Okay, I'm with you.
Caves Valley. I mean, not Caves Valley. Whatever. What's it called? BMW Championship.
We're gonna release a graphic tomorrow on the golfers who have drifted the most year over year. And I will say Wyndy's on that list. I'm taking on one of the players on that list. We don't need to talk about Max. Go listen to all of our Max content from the past. The guy who's so unserious that we don't shit on enough, we do, but not as much, is your Jersey Shore brethren, Matt Fitzpatrick. He is. I feel like people just don't care about Matt Fitz, so nobody talks about it. But he's as unserious of a golfer. He won the U.S. Open. He literally sucks at golf.
Kohler went out of his way to call me today when I was driving and said, "What happened to Matt Fitzpatrick?" I guess he just realized that he's been off the planet. But if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, we've called his downfall the week it happened, and he's been unserious since.
That is true. That is true.
Like you were on Max's like way before it happened, and I was on Fitzy's way before it happened. Like listeners can definitely attest to that. Corn Ferry career over. That's it.
I will say I think Matt Fitz could make the cut. I think Matt Fitz, after everything we said, I think he could finish like T22. But
he played well one round last year, and it was on Sunday.
He's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cuts in a row here. He always stripes it off the tee. I think after everything we said, I kind of like Matt Fitz this week. Not outright, but he's better at golf than Max. He's more likely to play good than Max this week.
Yeah, that's not saying much though. You and I could get close to Max.
Okay, well, we're almost going to wrap this up here. We're way down. Oh, here's another guy. I need your opinion actually on this guy, jersey. Ben on.
He doesn't have the iron play. But he loves the Purple golf course.
Give me Ben on in DFS. That's all I'm saying. I don't need to be betting on him at all.
No.
I do like him this week. What's the Hoj's situation? You've been going back to the Hoj's. I gave up on the Hoj's after Nikolai played awful at the Valero in Houston. I was just like, no, I'm good. You had both of them that week. Where are we at with the Hoj's?
I think I might have to take a week off because it's just like they're one of the two most tilting guys to bet because they hit the most insane golf shots. Like they're on places of the golf course that like no one's been, but then they get out of it, and make birdie from there. And then it's tough. But they miss so many putts, and then they make so many. Like Rasmus made like a 65-foot eagle and missed a 3-foot par. Like what? I don't know. It's tough. Triple D's though. I mean, betting them in perpetuity. I might do it. I might.
Speaking of perpetuity, guys. Yeah, we need to talk about it because BK is claiming that we're not giving Nick Dunn the same treatment that we give other players when they are literally completely forgot how to play golf. And I'll address it right now. And I feel like we have addressed it previously. I think we give Nick Dunn his fair share, but I think there's some truth to what BK was saying that we need to address the situation here. This is a man that I declared would break Jack's record. I said it around plus 200 odds he would break Jack's record. And I think I was really behind that until recent weeks. He is losing an unbelievable amount of strokes off the tee.
He's losing strokes off the tee that I don't think anyone knew you can lose.
Yeah,
what he did in Houston was was he putting off the tee? I don't know how you can lose that many strokes off the tee in Houston.
That's the thing. If you can do it at Bay Hill, you could do it at the
statistically. How? What did he do? He hit 6 iron off the tee every time.
he just hits it OB at least a couple times per round, just off the tee. And if you're hitting OB on the tour, pack your bags and just go on home. There's no toast.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm extraordinarily worried. I'm not gonna.
We know the one thing he needs to do to get back.
Yeah, and I think I'm willing to take the stance that I'm canceling the perpetuity bet until
he's single.
He gets things back from a frame of mind. It is what it is, and I need a break. And I've been taking a break. I haven't been betting him much. Every now and then I'll give him a shot. He played good here last year, but I don't think I can do it. Of the old guys, of the random players who are in this tournament, because there's some random guys. Matt McCarty gets to play the Masters, so that's cool for him. It's crazy that the guys in the fall getting to play the Masters to me is curious versus some of the better players, but they've earned it. Any of those guys who are jumping out to you this week?
What old guys you're asking, or random guys?
Both. Just we're talking would be the most shocking win in PGA Tour history.
500 Spawn.
No. He's not. He's way lower.
Tom Hoagie. Oh, way lower than that. Thirsty, randomly pop. He can randomly pop. He's playing horrific golf, but this is a golf course that he kind of makes sense on.
We would have been locked in without question to the low AM market. It probably would have been more important to us than the outright market if you had the full boots, which is probably the most disappointing part of the whole thing. I was looking at the amateurs jurors just to get a feel for the situation. I'm going. Where did he go? Oh, here he goes. Justin Hastings, Give me
Okay, as
Justin
long as you say Evan
Hastings.
Beck. Evan Beck has no chance.
You're out on Evan Beck.
Mm-hmm.
Hastings, hold on. He played in Mexico and he played pretty good. He finished T13, I think, in Mexico jersey. Yeah, if you can finish T13 in Mexico, you can make the cut. you could easily make the cut, and you can very likely win. So that's where we'll end it. Justin Hastings to win the Masters. Everything will be up on the site. We barely even hyped the site. If you listen this long, we don't need to hype the site to you. Get over there. $99 for the weekly, $34.99 for the monthly. Jerry's great effort out there. Good try. We'll get him next year at Augusta. We've got the Augusta major season. Royal Ports will make up for this 10,000 times over. Can't wait. Good work. Talk to you later.
Peace.